Coach, you feeling with that noise we could hear it all the way across the parking lot?
Yeah, it's not a whole lot of fun. A lot of times I stand behind the defense, but it's not a whole lot of fun. But it's important for us to get ready. We do our research and find out what music they play in their stadium and try to replicate it as much as we can here. Try to make it louder than we anticipate it being on Saturday. I thought our guys have handled it extremely well, so that's important.
Coach, you mentioned trying to obviously replicate some of what you'll see this weekend throughout practice on the scout team. Which players stood out to you in doing so? Because I know you did say it was going to be pretty tough to emulate Ohio State.
Yeah, I don't know. At this point, I don't know. We usually later in the week kind of do scout team player of the week after watching film. We've only had one day that we've looked at the film, so I'm not really sure. I don't have a good answer for you right now.
James, you talked a lot about strengths and weaknesses this year concerning your team. Are you guys at the point now where you're doing planning more on what the other team is going to do versus your strengths and weaknesses, or is it going to be a balance? Is it always going to be a balance?
I think it's always going to be a balance. I don't know if we're still at that point yet. I think we're obviously being a little bit more aggressive and doing a little bit more of those things in attacking. But I still think probably it's tilted in solving problems. That's just kind of where we're at right now. But I do think we're starting to take a little bit more aggressive approach when we think it's appropriate.
We don't usually see you having long discussions with players. So is it fair to ask what the discussion with Kevin was about that?
It's fair to ask, but I don't think it's appropriate to talk about at this time right now. We're just kind of looking at some things for our future, and at this time, I'm not ready to do that. But it's fair to ask.
Coach, when you're dissecting film this week, how much of a focus now, especially knowing how much Ohio State can produce in the second half of games, how much of a focus has that third quarter been?
Yeah, it's funny though. You're aware of those things, but it's not like we're going to reinvent the wheel in the third quarter to try to create something. We're trying to do those things all the time, and same thing with them. We're aware of what quarters we're strong in, what quarters we're weak in, and spend some extra time looking at those things and what we can do better from a self-scout perspective. And then the same thing with them. I think with them a lot of times it's what we talked about. I think earlier in the week at the press conference, something came up about this, about they wear people down. They're big, they're talented, they're veteran. We were kind of looking earlier today at kind of our roster, how many freshmen we're playing. I think we're playing more freshmen than anybody in the Big Ten. I also think we're tied, for the least amount of seniors. You look at them, they're pretty much spread out. They're getting a lot of production out of their juniors, but they're pretty much spread out. And what happens, because of their depth and because of their talent, they wear people down. And although people have been competitive with the first half, they've wore people down and created big plays in the second half. So, us playing a lot of guys and building up some of that depth, I think, is going to be helpful for us, especially on Saturday. It kind of goes back to what I was talking about, too, at the press conference about the amount of reps Bosa's playing, the amount of reps that Nassib is playing. Just little things like that hopefully allow us to play four quarters the way we want to play.
Dave Ukelson is a sports psychologist here at Penn State. Do you rely on him at any point
No.
to maybe help assimilate guys?
No. I have not.
Philosophically, when you get a guy cleared,
I didn't mean to be rude. I just cut you off rather than keep talking.
answered the question.
Yeah, no. The answer is no. We haven't.
when you get a guy cleared from injury, is there
In the past, I'm sorry, I apologize. In the past, we've used Kale as a lady named Bonnie Epstein. We've used her in the past,
Yes.
but we haven't done those things yet this year.
I don't remember.
Yes,
Philosophically, when you get a guy cleared to return from injury, is there a day that he has to have practiced by to contribute on the weekend, or is that right up until kick?
That goes back to what I think we've talked about before about the age of the guy. If it's an experienced guy who's played a lot, then to me there is really no time. I've been around coaches that if you don't practice by this day, you ain't playing, and then the guy's good on Saturday, and you really wish you had him, and you don't play him. I think a veteran player. I think everybody needs to practice, but a veteran player, if he still gives you the best opportunity to win, you're going to play that guy, even if he hasn't practiced much a whole lot during the week. A younger player, that's a discussion that we have as staff. There's no line in the sand. It's a discussion as a staff. Does this guy give us the best chance to win it? If he does, we'll play.
Do you have different players play the different quarterbacks on the scout team when you have a more of a classic drop back guy and a scrambling guy? And if so, who are those guys who are doing it for you?
Yeah, obviously Tommy Stevens is an athletic guy, so we feel like, he can do both. Last year, We sent Trace down a couple times when we were facing a guy like that. The good part is the type of guys we're recruiting right now, with Trace and Tommy Stevens, they're guys that I think have the ability to give similar looks, whether it's a drop back guy. Tommy's 6'4", but he also has the ability to pull it down and take off and run around. So I think that gives you some flexibility, which is what we're trying to look for in recruiting, but it also shows up when it helps you on the scout team as well.
Hey James, since you haven't been to Ohio Stadium, but you look at this is your great line, previous institutions, you won at Texas in a really big game and then lost to Alabama in a highly ranked game down there. Do you draw on that from your history at all when getting ready for something like this?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think going into these venues, whether it's experience in the NFL, whether it's experience in college, I think it prepares you. I think it's experience, no different than anything else. I think it's the same thing with our players. I think the fact that I was talking to the team about what it's like at Ohio State, and Hack could tell me, and other guys could tell me what it was like, and they've been there. There's a comfort that comes from that. Some coaches take the approach where they show up and they go to the stadium and they walk around with the players. Some people do that. We haven't done it that way. It's like the old Hoosiers deal where he takes the tape ruler out and they make it to the championship game and he measures the height of the basket. I mean, to me, for the most part, it's dealing with the noise, which we can replicate here. The field dimensions are the field dimensions, but more experienced teams that have been in these types of games or venues helps, which we don't have. So we need to try to replicate it here. And we need to lean on the guys that have been there and been in those games in the past.
You said earlier this week that the trainers, doctors would obviously make a decision on the guys injured if they could play or not. What's that wait like for you when you're waiting on that decision as a coach in terms of waiting to hear on a guy or not?
Yeah, I don't think it factors in a whole lot. I mean, I think obviously if it's your starting quarterback and you have an inexperienced guy behind, it probably weighs in. Most other positions, you have depth and you have multiple guys that have played. So you just kind of move along, and you're hopeful that you're going to get good news. But I think it probably shows up more if it's a position where that guy's played almost every rep and the guy behind him hasn't had a whole lot of experience. Then it'd probably be a little bit nerve-wracking waiting for the decision. And that's where you might even say to doctors, I need to know Wednesday because I can't wait any longer past that. He's either going to be ready to go or not, and we need to plan as if he's not going to be here, especially if there's two different approaches.
Have they made that decision yet? Do you know?
With
Saquon?
Yes, the doctors have made a decision.
We're going to see him?
Sir?
We're going to see him on Saturday?
The doctors have made a decision.
Did Akil take reps today? We saw him up there.
Akil took reps. And you guys, since you guys love this stuff, Adam Brenneman took a much bigger, a much larger amount of reps at practice today, because I know every press conference there's an Adam Brenneman update, and he took a much larger amount of reps today, which was great to see him. But yeah, the doctors, they make decisions on Wednesday.
Just
Right, add
blink
that to your opening
twice.
statements.
Huh?
You should probably add that to your opening statements with Brenneman update every week.
Okay, yeah, there's no doubt about it. I just add another one. Chris will be really happy. You guys will be really happy with that.
I heard
added
a couple
another
of
opening
people at
statement.
Gigi's last night talking. They were wondering.
About Saquon? Awesome. Well, it'd be like Christmas morning,
to wait.
waiting for Saturday. It'd be Christmas morning.
What's your biggest road win ever? Whether it's assistant or head coach? Texas?
It's a good question.
Florida?
Probably the biggest win was, you asked road win, but the biggest win I would probably remember is Texas at home. They were number 4 in the country, and we beat them in a shootout like 42-38 or something like that. And then the following year, we went to Texas and beat them at that place. That was a big one. I don't know. At the previous institution, the Ole Miss road win was a big one. The Tennessee road win was a big one. Yeah, there's been some. So I don't know. I haven't really thought about like that, but we've had some.
Hey James, there were 16 runs between your top 2 backs last week. 7 went for 2 yards or less. And you're talking about wanting to establish the run and assert your dominance on another team. Can a 2-yard run be productive in that? Is that do you worry about that?
No, I think that they're going to happen. To be honest with you, I would say the thing you have to eliminate is not the 2-yard run. You have to eliminate the minus 2-yard runs or the minus 6-yard sacks. Those are the things, or the pre-snap penalties. You're going to have 2-yard runs. You look at the best offenses in the country, NFL or college, they're going to have those. Those guys are on the other side of the field or on scholarship too. But what you got to do is you got to eliminate the negative yardage plays as much as you possibly can.
Do you have a sense for how many redshirting freshmen will travel? You've done that. You did that last year with Sorley and some other kids.
Yeah, it really depends. So there's conference rules. We only get to travel 70 guys for conference games. Non-conference games, it opens up a little bit more. So it really just depends. Basically, we go around by position, and everybody says the number. It's pretty much set each week. You have a little bit of variance in it, but not much. And then what we try to do is when we do the scout team players of the week, if you can, you'd like to throw those guys a bone. The offensive scout team player of the week, he gets to travel. Defensive scout team player of the week, but based on 70, it's hard to do that. It's hard to do that.
Coach, do you expect Garrett Sickles to have a even more so productive weekend now that there's so much attention on Nassib and of course Austin and Anthony?
I think that's a valid point. I think in general, even the emphasis on Zettel last season and off season has helped Carl Nassib. I think the emphasis on Carl Nassib and Zettel has helped AJ. So I think, just like you're saying, a byproduct of those 3 guys having success is going to create some advantageous opportunities for a guy like Sickles. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And he's also practicing really, really well and working really, really hard. I think guys like that, especially Nassib, have been a great example for our whole team of how to work and how to approach things and how to maximize your opportunities. So I think it's a combination of all those things. I think it's an accurate statement.
Would you say it's accurate that
You're on fire tonight. Very aggressive.
well, it's a quiet night.
I love it.
And I'm cold, so I'm talking more.
Okay.
But so then you mentioned this Joey Bosa reps thing a couple times now. I think you want us to write about it, so we might talk about it a little bit. But would you say that Nassib has been more efficient in his play because he's taking less reps, but he's producing more than Bosa has this season?
I wouldn't say that. The numbers say that. If you play less reps, and you're having a lot of big plays and statistics, I think that shows up. That doesn't take anything away from Bosa. I mean, you turn the film on, everybody that's played Ohio State is concerned about Bosa. He's gotten a lot of attention. He's been a lot of awards lists, and all those things deservedly so. I mean, but I think if you're just talking about efficiency and production based on plays, number of plays to tackles for loss, sacks, and things like that, I think you can make an argument Carl Nassib is in a similar discussion.
Thank you, Coach.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.